Act 2, Episode 1. Announcer. Not about nightingales. A spot comes up on the office. The hunger strike has been in effect for several days, and a tense electric atmosphere prevails as everyone waits for the inevitable explosion when nerves are stretched to the point of endurance. Eva is seated alone as the scene opens. Her movements are jittery. The phone rings. Eva. Warden's office. A Morning Star? No, Mr. Whalen is not seeing any reporters. No, there is serious trouble. There is no serious trouble. No, you can't get on the island without a special permit from Mr. Whalen. The rule has been in effect for about 6 days. No, not on account of a hunger strike. Yes. Goodbye. During this, the chaplain has entered. Eva is startled, then continues. Oh, chaplain. Nervous, young lady? Eva. Terribly, terribly. Chaplain. I don't blame you. So am I. This thing has got to be stopped before something serious happens. Eva. Oh, if only it could be. Chaplain. That's what I want to see Mr. Whalen about. It does no good trying to suppress all news of what's going on. We might as well face the music and do something constructive to put a stop to it. Eva. Yes, something constructive. Chaplain. But in the meantime, couldn't you take a little vacation? Eva. You think there's real danger? Chaplain. Certainly there's danger, and it's aggravated by the fact that Mr. Whalen apparently won't recognize it. I wish that I could reason with that man, but, well, he glances at his watch. I'll visit some boys in the hospital and be back here for a talk with the boss in about 20 minutes. Eva. All right. Jim enters. Chaplain. Hello, Jim. How are things upstairs? Jim, showing a bloody arm and a torn sleeve. That's the answer. Eva, springing up. Jim! Jim, laughing grimly. I walked too close to one of the cages. Chaplain. Who did that? Jim, slowly shaking his head. I don't know. Chaplain, patting his back. You've had 10 bad years, Jim. I hope next month will be the end of it for you. Jim. Thanks, Reverend. The chaplain goes out. Eva. Jim, I'll fix that up for you. He sits down by desk. Jim. They gave me this stuff to put on it down at the sick house. They were sore as hell because I wouldn't tell them who done it. Eva. Painting his arm and applying a bandage. You shouldn't stay up there. It's not safe for you. Jim. No place is safe in here. Aren't you finally convinced of that? Eva. Why are you so anxious to get rid of me? Jim. You know a lot you could tell. Eva. Yes, I suppose I do. Jim. Why don't you then? Eva. I want to stay here a while longer. Maybe next month I'll go. We'll both go then. Jim. They've been on a hunger strike 6 days and the warden only gave them 7. Tonight may be the deadline. Tomorrow night at the latest. Eva. Then what? Jim. The boiler room is in perfect condition. The pipes have been reinforced. Eva. I can't imagine anything as brutal as that. I don't believe it. Jim. Well, I ought to spill it myself, but if I did, it would cost my ticket of leave. It's funny. Eva. What? Jim. Nothing has quite so much value as the skin of our own guts are wrapped in. He takes a book and sits down at the window. Eva resumes typing. Jim suddenly tears a page out and throws it on the floor in disgust. Christ. Eva, what'd you do that for? Jim, I didn't like it. Eva, what was it? Jim, a little piece of verbal embroidery by a guy named Keats. Eva, what's wrong with it? Jim, it's sissy stuff. Ode to a Nightingale. Don't those literary punks know there's something more important to write about than that? You had to spend a few years in stir before they select their subjects. Eva, why don't you show them then? Jim, they give my right arm for the chance. Eva, you have the chance. Jim, not in here I don't. If I wrote what I wanted to write, I'd stay in here till Klondike becomes an ice plant. But maybe next month. Eva, yes, next month. Jim, maybe then I'll start writing, but not about nightingales. Eva, John Keats didn't have a very good time of it, Jim. Jim, no. Eva, no. He died at the age of 26. Jim, smothered himself in lilies, I guess. Eva, no. He wanted to live, terribly. He was like you. He had a lot of things he wanted to say, but no chance to say them. He wrote another poem, Jim. A poem you'd like. Give me the book. Here it is. She reads the sonnet, When I have fears that I may cease to be. When I have fears that I may cease to be, before my pen has gleaned my teeming brain, before high pikes in charactery hold like rich garners the full ripened grain, when I behold upon the night's starred face huge cloudy symbols of high romance, and I think that I may never live to trace their shadows with the magic hand of chance. And when I feel, fair creature of an hour, that I shall never look upon thee more, never have relish in the fairy power of unreflecting love than on the shore of the wide world I stand alone and think, till love and fame to nothingness do sink. You see, he was like you, Jim. He got out of his prison by looking at the stars. He wrote about beauty as a form of escape. Jim. Escape, huh? That's not my kind of escape. Eva. What is your form of escape? Jim. Blowing things wide open. Eva. Destruction, you mean? Jim. Yes, destruction. Eva. I'm sorry to hear you say that. Jim. Would you rather hear me warbling about nightingales? Eva. No, but there are other things. Jim. For instance? Eva. There must be some things you love. Jim. Love? Eva. Yes. Jim. Love is something nasty that's done in dark corners around this place. Eva. I'm sorry you're so bitter. Jim. Why should you be sorry about anything except the possible loss of your job? Eva. Why should I? Because I like you, Jim. Jim. Even after the last time we were in here together? Eva. More than ever. Jim. When you've been without women as long as I have, there's something mythological about them. You can't believe they're real. Not even when you place your hands on them like this and... Eva. Jim! She breaks away as Waylon enters. Warden. What's the matter, Jim? Jim. Why? Warden. You got a funny look on your face. Jim. I'm just concentrating. Warden. On what? Jim. The new Archaeopteryx. Archaeopteryx. Warden. Oh, what are you going to write about, Jim? Jim, quietly. Not about nightingales. Warden. Huh? Absently fiddles with his papers. Oh, Jim. Jim. Yes, sir? Warden. You might want to drop a word to the boys on hunger strike about the radiator test we made in Klondike. We got the temperature up to 150 degrees. You might mention that. You know, a word to the wise is sufficient. Jim. I'm afraid there's not much wisdom in Hall C. Good night. Jim goes out. Chaplain enters. Warden. lighting cigar. What do you want, Reverend? Chaplain. I want to talk to you about the death of Oliver Jackson. Warden. What about it? Chaplain. I think it could have been avoided. Warden. Sure it could. Nobody made that fool black take a dive. Chaplain. He was goaded to desperation. Warden. Oh, you think so? Chaplain. There have been too many suicides, several drownings, hangings, so-called accidents since I've been here. Now it appears that we're in danger of having a mass suicide in Hall C. The men have gone on hunger strike, which I think is fully justified by the quality of the food they've been getting. Warden. Aw. Now I'm beginning to suspect who is responsible for the wild stories that have been leaking out to the public about things here. I'm afraid you're what the boys call a stool pigeon, Reverend. Chaplain. I'm a conscientious steward of Christ, and as such, I protest against the inhuman treatment of convicts in this prison. Warden, jumping up. Who's running this prison? You or me? Chaplain. Mr. Whalen, the universe is like a set of blocks. The kind you had in kindergarten. A little one that fits into a big one. A bigger one over that, till you get on up to the very biggest of them, all that fits on top of all the rest. Warden. Yes. Chaplain. Yes. And that biggest block is the one I'm representing, the kingdom of God. He rises with dignity. Warden. Well, I'm afraid your work here has begun to interfere with your higher duties. I want you to climb up there on top of that great big block you're talking about and stay up there. That's your place. You leave me alone down here on the little block. There's your notice, Reverend. You're free to go now. Chaplain. I could leave here gladly if it wasn't for what I have to take with me. Warden. You're taking nothing with you but the clothes on your back. Chaplain. I'm taking much more than that. Warden. Oh, maybe I'd better have you frisked on the way out. Chaplain. You could strip me naked and I'd still have these. Warden. These what? Chaplain. Memories. Shadows. Ghosts. Warden. Phone. Get me Atwater. 2770. Chaplain. Things I've seen that I can't forget. Men tortured, twisted, driven mad. Death's the least of it. It's the life in here that's going to stay with me like an incurable sickness. And by God, Whalen, that's not profanity. By God, I won't rest easy till I've seen these walls torn down, stone by stone, and others put up in their place that let the air in. Good night. He goes out quickly. Warden. Hello. Reverend, this is Warden Whalen. Our chaplain's just resigned. I want you to come over and talk to me. Might be a steady job in it for you. Yes, sirree. You be over here in time for Sunday service. He hangs up. Memories, shadows, ghosts. What a screwball. He pours himself a drink. Dim out. Episode 2. Announcer. Sunday morning in Hall C. A spot comes up on the cell. Joe, Queen, and Swifty are reading sections of a Sunday paper. From down the corridor comes Butch's voice. Butch, approaching. I'm forever blowing bubbles. He enters the cell with a straight razor towel and soap. Who gave you that paper? Joe. Allison, the canary. Butch, get it out of here. Joe, what for? Butch, it's contaminated. Joe. Oh, take a look at the comics. Butch. No, give me a picture section. Hey, look at this. Joe, what? Butch. A bulkhead of buds. Joe. Yeah, they're coming out in society. Butch. Miss Hortense Maxine Schultz, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Max W. Schultz, 79 Willow Drive, will make her bow to society early this fall. She is one of a group of young women who traveled through Europe this summer with Mrs. J. Mortimer Finchwell. Joe. So what? Butch. On her father's side, Miss Schultz is directly descendant from William the Conqueror, and on her mother's from Ponce de Leon, Sir Isaac Newton and George Washington's aunt. Joe. Gosh, they're pikers. Why don't they throw in Benito Mussolini for good measure? Butch. Her grandfather was the late Benjamin F. Schultz, president and founder of the Schultz Bottling Works. Joe. Lots of Mazuma, huh? Butch. In addition to her many other accomplishments. Hey, listen to this. Joe. Huh? Butch. Down here at the bottom, they come right out and admit that she ain't even human. Joe. How's that? Butch. It says here, in addition to her many other accomplishments, Miss Schultz is an excellent horsewoman. Joe. Hell, you could tell that by looking at her picture. Blackout. Episode 3. Announcer. Mr. Whalen interviews the new chaplain. A spot comes up on the office. Whalen and the Reverend Hooker have just returned from Sunday dinner. The Reverend Hooker is a nervous, precise little man with a prodigious anxiety to please. Warden. I got you up here on pretty short notice. You see, me and the old chaplain had a little disagreement last night, which resulted in him handing in his resignation right off the bat. He made one fatal mistake, Reverend. He kind of forgot who was in charge of this institution. Reverend. I don't think I shall make that error, Mr. Whalen. Warden. No, neither do I. First time I seen you, I said to myself, here's a man who looks like he could adjust himself to conditions. Reverend. I pride myself on being adjustable. Warden. Good. You'll find that's an asset around this place. A definite asset. What's your idea of the universe, Reverend? Reverend. I beg your pardon? Warden. Suppose you give me a little word picture of how you conceive of this great mysterious... He makes a sweeping gesture. Reverend. Cosmos? Warden. Yes. In which we humans are little fluttering motes, so to speak. He makes a derisive fluttering gesture with hands. Reverend. Well, of course there's the orthodox conception of the universe as consisting of 3 elements. Warden. Yup. Reverend. Heaven, earth, and the regions below. Warden. We call that Klondike in here. Reverend. I beg your pardon? Warden. Skip it, Reverend. Reverend. Of course, there's some questions as to the material existence of those nether regions. Warden. There's no doubt about them here. No, sir, but what I wanted to know, Reverend, is if you've got any theories about a set of blocks, with you occupying the one on top and me way down at the bottom. That's what got the last preacher in trouble with me. Reverend. Blocks? Oh dear, no. That strikes me as rather elementary, to say the least. Warden. Yeah, kindergarten stuff. Well, you'll do, Reverend. He glances at his ponderous gold watch. We got about 5 minutes till church takes up. Are you good at making up extemporaneous speeches? Reverend. Oh, yes. Indeed. Yes, indeed. I think I may safely say that I have never lacked words for any occasion. Warden. Well, your job depends on this one. I haven't got time to go into details, Reverend, but I want you to touch on 3 particular subjects. I don't care how you bring them in, just so you do, and so you give them the right emphasis. Reverend. 3 subjects. Warden. Yes, sirree. You mark them down, Reverend. Food. Reverend. Food. Warden. That's the first one. Then, heat. Reverend. Heat? Warden. Yep. And then Klondike. A bell sounds. There goes the bell. I'm 2 minutes slow. Remember now, food, heat, and Klondike. Reverend. What was the last one? Klondike? You mean missionary work in the far north? Among the Eskimos? I'm afraid the association of ideas is going to be a little difficult for me to grasp, Mr. Whalen, but dim out. A spot comes up on the Reverend Hooker behind a small lectern. Reverend. Yes, very good afternoon to you all. He clears his throat, then beams at the convicts. I hope that you enjoyed your dinner as much as I did mine. Voice. Hamburgers and spaghetti. There is a chorus of booing. A warning whistle sounds, then silence. Reverend. Food is such a familiar blessing that we sometimes forget to be properly grateful for it. But when I read about the horrible conditions in famine-stricken portions of Europe and Asia, I feel that I am indeed very fortunate to have a full stomach. Booing is heard. Someone whistles. When one thinks of food, one also thinks by a natural association of ideas about the marvelous blessing of heat. Heat. That makes food possible. Wonderful heat. Heat of all kinds. The heat of the sun that warms the Earth's atmosphere and permits the growth of the vegetables and the grains and the fruits. The heat of the body of... he wipes his forehead. Heat, universal heat. At this time of the year, some of us find heat oppressive. But that is ungrateful of us. Extremely ungrateful. There is a slow stomping of feet. The preacher continues, raising his voice. For all living matter depends on the presence of heat. Northward and southward from the equator to the twin poles, even to far Alaska, even in Klondike. The stomping grows louder. What would Klondike be without heat? A frozen wasteland. He scrubs his forehead and glances nervously about. In Klondike are brave missionaries risking their lives among savage tribes of war, painted Indians. A hymnal is hurled. There is furious stomping. Goodness! As I was saying, in Klondike, he is bombarded with hymnals. A whistle blows. There is shouting. A siren sounds. Dim out. A mocking jazz interlude plays. A spot comes up on the office. The Reverend rushes in, clasping his handkerchief to his forehead. Reverend. Oh, mercy upon us. Warden at the phone. Schultz? All guards on duty. Find out who conked the Reverend with that songbook. I give you my word, Reverend, I wasn't expecting no such a reaction as this. It come as a complete surprise. Reverend, I'm afraid I shall have to receive some medical attention. Warden. Yeah, well, I want you to take this fin, Reverend. Reverend. And the nervous shock, you know. Warden, yeah? Well, Reverend, terrific. A shocking experience. Warden. Here's another $2. Theme up. Jazz. Blackout. Episode 4. Announcer. 0 hour. A spot comes up on the warden's office. Eva is typing nervously. Jim enters. His chronic tension has now risen to the point of breaking. Even his movements are stiff like those of a mechanical man. His eyes are smoldering. Eva, jumping up as he enters. Jim, you're not... Jim, no, I'm not locked up in Hall C. Eva, I hadn't seen you. I was afraid. Jim, you must have forgotten what a special value there is attached to my hide. Eva, you look awfully tired, Jim. Jim, yes. How do you sleep at night? Eva, not well lately. Jim, how do you sleep at all knowing what you know and keeping still? Eva. What else can I do but keep still? Jim. You could talk. You could tell the State Humane Society that 3,500 animals are being starved to death and threatened with torture. Eva. And lose my job? Jim. Excuse me for being so impractical. Eva. You don't understand. I was out of work 6 months before I got this job. Jim. You told me that. Eva. I got down to my last dime. Once a man followed along the street and I stood still, waiting for him to catch up with me. Yes, I'd gotten down that low. I was going to ask him for money. Jim. Did you? Eva. No. At the last moment, I couldn't. I went hungry instead. Jim looks at her. Now you want me to go back to that? Times haven't improved. Now maybe I'd have more courage or less decency, or maybe I'd be hungrier than I was before. Jim. You better hold on to your job, Miss Crane, even if it does mean participating in a massacre. Eva. It's not that bad. Jim. It's going to be that bad. I'm going to talk myself now, even if it means giving up my chance of parole. Eva. No, you can't do that. Wait a while and see how things turn out. Jim. This is the 0 hour. Whalen has given instructions to put Hall C in Klondike tonight if they don't eat supper. Eva. I know. I heard him. Jim lifts the telephone receiver. What are you going to do? Jim. Blow the lid off this stinking hole. Eva grabbing the phone. No, Jim. I'll do it myself. I'll talk. Jim. When? Eva lowering her voice. Now. Tonight. I'll visit the newspaper on my way home. Jim. You will, huh? Eva. Yes, Jim. No. Wait till tomorrow. We'll have more definite evidence then. With Hall C in Klondike. Whalen enters. Warden. Well, Jim, what do the boys in Hall C think about the changing climate that I've arranged for them? Jim. They haven't heard yet. Wilson is going to tell them when he brings the men up from the hole. Warden. They'll be eating supper tonight. Jim. What have they got for supper? Warden. The old perennial favorites. Hamburger and spaghetti. I'm not going to mollycoddle those bastards. Excuse me, Eva. Jim. I don't think they'll eat. Warden. You don't, huh? Well, I do. Eva? Eva, who has gotten her hat. Yes, sir? Warden. I want you back after supper. We've got to have things in perfect order in case the snoopers get busy. Eva. All right. Warden. You better catch the ferry at 7:15. Eva. Yes, sir. She exits. Jim. About my parole, Mr. Whalen. Warden. Yes, what about it? Jim. It's coming up next month. Warden, grunting. Jim. I guess it pretty much hangs on your decision. Warden. You've got a lot of brass. Jim. Why do you say that? Warden. Bothering me about your goddamn parole at a time like this. Jim. It's important to me. I've been in here 10 years and I've got 10 years of copper. I'm due for a ticket to leave. Warden. You'll get a ticket to Klondike if you got any more to say on the subject. Jim, starting forward. By God, Warden. What? Jim with desperate control. Nothing. Warden, uneasily. I'm going out for supper. Be back about 8 or 8:30. You watch things here. Jim. Yes, sir. Whalen exits. Jim covers his face, strangling a sob. Blackout. Episode 5. Musical theme up. I'm forever blowing bubbles. Announcer, Hall C. Musical theme fade. A spot comes up on the cell. The dialogue is fairly light, but an undercurrent of desperation should be felt. Butch, hoarsely. I'm forever blowing bubbles. Joe, quit croaking that corny number. Why don't you learn something new? Butch, that was the new last I heard it. Joe, before you got in stir? Butch, it just come out. Joe, it's had time to grow whiskers since then. Butch, it was Goldie's favorite. Joe, I thought you said she liked Dardanella. Butch, she liked that one too. Joe, what's become of her? Butch, how should I know? She quit writing 10 years ago. Christ. She's probably died of the sif by now. Butch, no, not Goldie. Queen, I wish I was dead. I used to have nice fingernails. Look at 'em now. My teeth was nice too. I had nice hair. Now when I look at myself, I wish I was dead. Butch, fortune's always hiding. I looked everywhere. A mimic down the hall echoes the refrain. Butch jumping to the bars. Who is that? You, Kraus? Anytime I want you small-time grifters to muscle in on my singing, I'll send you a special request. Queen. Yes, I wish I was dead. I hope that I starve to death. And I will. I can feel myself dying already. Butch. They fly so high, nearly reach the sky. They used to turn out that light on that number. There was a sort of silver glass ball at the top of the ceiling that would turn round and throw little rainbow-colored reflections all over the floor and the walls. God, it was lovely. Queen, rising. Honest to God, I can't hold out much longer, Butch. Butch, nah? Queen. Nah. I got a weak constitution. I was in a nervous, run-down condition before I got sent up here. Hell, it was a bum rap. I didn't sell any weeds. I used to smoke them, but I never sold any. Persecution. All my life, persecution. Now maybe they'll kill me down there in Klondike. I'll never get out. Never. Never get out. Butch, dummy up. Queen. You ever been in Klondike, Joe? Joe. Nah, Butch has. Queen, what's it like, Butch? Butch, rising slowly and going to stage front. Then, like my dreams, they fade and die. Queen, they say it ain't the heat so much. Joe, what is it, the humidity? Queen, no, you can't breathe good. It's kind of suffocating. He fingers his collar. Butch, fortune's always hiding. I looked everywhere. I am forever blowing bubbles. He stops short. A door clangs. The men rise simultaneously, tense. There is the sound of a racking cough, and delirious sobbing. Butch continues softly. They're bringing him up from the hole. Schultz. Guan, get a move on. It ain't no funeral march for a while. The dull shuffling of feet is heard, accompanied by coughing, sobbing. The heads of the men in the cells move slowly left to right, mouths open as though watching some awful procession. Halt. Face yourselves. You too, Shapiro. Do I have to speak Yiddish to make you understand? A low yammering commences. Butch seizes his tin cup and holds it poised. A whistle sounds. The cell door opens. March in. Get in there, Trout, Shapiro. Swifty stumbles into the cell, unshaven, ghastly, sobbing. All right, take a good look at him, and remember this. The hole is just a small dose compared to Klondike. Klondike's the big medicine, and the boss is all set to pour it out in double doses for any of you wise bastards that don't feel like eating supper tonight. Voice slowly and emphatically. Where's Ollie? Another staccato. Yeah, where's Ollie? Chorus, where's Ollie? Where's Ollie? What did you do with Ollie? Slight pause. Who's responsible if some fool black takes a notion to butt his own brains out? There's a slight whine of fear in his voice. Butch suddenly hammers the cell bar with his cup. Yammering commences. During the preceding speeches from the point of his entrance, Swifty has stood dazed. Then he sags slowly to his knees beside the bunk. The Queen comforts him awkwardly. Joe and Butch stand with attention fixed on Schultz. A whistle sounds. The yammering subsides a little. Schultz, standing directly outside the open cell door, continues. You see this here thermometer? He extracts a long one from his pocket. See that little red mark there? That says blood heat. Now see this one up here, 20 degrees more? It says fever heat. You think it's going to stop there? Not a chance. It's going to keep right on rising till it busts clean out of the top of the little doojit. It's going to break all records. It's going to be the biggest heat wave in history. Now, if you don't think I'm a good weather prophet, just one of you finicky lads leave a little spaghetti on his plate tonight and see what happens. Voice. Spaghetti? There's a complete tense silence for a moment. Schultz. Yeah. Spaghetti. Butch. Spaghetti, huh? We ain't gonna eat it tonight or no other time. Not till Whalen cuts out the graft and feeds us something besides hog slop. Schultz. Is that what you want me to tell him? Butch. Yeah. Tell him that. And if he don't like it. Yammering. A whistle. The door clangs shut. The yammering subsides. Voice. Klondike? Another. Tonight? Another. Yeah, if we don't eat. Voice. Klondike? No. Another. Not if we go to Klondike. Voice, shrill and despairing. We can't make it. A racking cough and delirious sobbing are heard. Max prays in a hoarse-strangled voice. Mex prays in a hoarse-strangling voice. Mex. Santa Maria, Madre de Dios, etc. Butch advances to the bars and raps commandingly. Voice. It's Butch. Another. What does Butch say? Mex. Jesus muerto por nuestros pecados. Butch. Cut the cackle, all of yous. That goes for you too, Mex. You got plenty of time for talking to Jesus when you get there. Listen here now. Anybody in Halsey that eats is going to pay for his supper in Kangaroo Court. I'll assess the maximum fine, you know what. You're scared of Klondike? I say let him throw us in Klondike. Maybe some of you weak sisters will be melted down to grease chunks, but not all 25 of us. Some of us are going to beat Klondike. And Klondike their last trump card. When you got that licked, you've licked everything they've got to offer in here. You got them over the barrel for good. So then what happens? They come up to us and they say, you win. What is it you want? We say, Boss Whalen is out. Get us a new warden. Get us decent living conditions. No more overcrowding. No more bunking up with contagious diseases. Fresh air in the cell blocks, fumigation, and most of all, we want some food that's fit to put in our bellies. Applause. No more hamburger and spaghetti and beans and hamburger and spaghetti till you feel like the whole fucking world was made of nothing else but hamburger and beans and spaghetti. Applause. Maybe when we get through house cleaning, this place will be like the industrial reformatory they got at Chillicothe. A place where guys are learned how to make a living after they get out of stir, where they teach them trades and improve their education. Not just lock 'em up in dirty holes and hope to God they'll die so as to save the state some money. Fierce yammering. Tonight we go to Klondike. There's 3 compartments. One of 'em's little hell, one of 'em's middle-sized hell, and one of 'em's big hell. You know which one of Butch O'Fallon is going to be in? So if I ain't yellow, boys, don't you be neither. That's all I gotta say. Voice. Okay, Butch. Another. We're with ya. Chorus. We'll beat Klondike. You bet we'll beat it. Put Waylon over a barrel. There's nervous laughter and applause. Their voices die abruptly under a shadow of fear. Mex chanting. Muerto por nuestros pecados rojo de sangre es el sol. Blackout. Episode 6. Announcer. Definition of life. A spot comes up on the office. Jim, facing downstage, leans against the desk, smoking. Eva enters. Eva. Hello, Jim. Jim. Yeah. Eva. Nice out. A little bit cooler. What's wrong with you? Jim, grinning wryly. Ask me what life is, Eva. Eva looks at him and crosses downstage. Ask me what it is and I'll tell you. Eva, removing her hat. No, darling. Jim, why not? Eva, it smells like a bad epigram. Jim, tossing away his cigarette. It's a gradual process of dying, that's what it is. Eva, worse than I expected. Jim, that's what it is in here. Maybe it's something else on your side of the fence. I'd like to find out, but I guess I won't have the chance. Eva, seriously. Your parole? Jim strikes the match, watches it burn. Turned down? Jim, not yet, but it will be. I was talking about it to Waylon. Eva, oh, you shouldn't have mentioned it now when he's all steamed up about the hunger strike. Jim, I didn't mean to. It just popped somehow. I'm getting out of control. Butch named me for the right kind of bird. Canaries never get out of their cages, do they, Eva? Eva. Jim, don't be a fool. Jim. No. They die in 'em, singing sweetly till doomsday. God damn. Eva, brushing her hat. Speaking of birds, I wish the pigeons would be a little more careful. Don't you think it's a nice hat, Jim? Jim, without looking. Yes, colossal. Eva. I bought it on the way home. I felt sort of gay and irresponsible, knowing tomorrow was the last day, I suppose. Jim. She catches his arm. He averts his face. Jim. His fear is visible. If I get turned down again this time, I'll never get another chance. Eva. Why not? Jim. Because I'll blow up. Cracked to pieces. I'm drawn as tight as I can get right now. Eva. Don't be a damn fool, Jim. Jim. You know what it's been like. Hated like poison for 10 years by everybody but him. Working for him and all the time hating him so that it made me sick at the guts to look at him even. 10 years of being his stooge. Jimmy boy, do this, do that. Yes, sir. Yes, Mr. Whalen. My hand's aching to catch that beefy red neck of his and choke the breath out of it. That's one reason why they shake so much. And here's another. Standing here at this window, looking out, seeing the streets, the buildings, the traffic moving, the lights going off and on, and me being pent up here in these walls, locked in them so tight it's like I was buried under the earth in a coffin with a glass lid that I could see the world through. While I felt the worms crawling inside me. Eva. No, don't be a fool. She crosses upstage to the window. It's nice out. Gotten cooler. Jim, you said that before. Eva, smiling desperately. Well, it's still true. There's a carnival on South Bay. I ran in like a kid and took a ride on the zebra. Jim. Yes? Eva. There's 2 seats on the zebra, Jim. One in front, one in back. Next month we'll ride them together. Jim, suddenly breaking. Eva. Eva. He covers his face. Eva, running to him. I love you. Pause. Jim, his voice choking. What is this place? What's it for? Why? Why? The judges say guilty. But what is guilty? What does that word mean anyhow? It's funny, but I don't know. He picks up the dictionary. Look it up in Webster's dictionary. What's it say? Responsible for the commission of crime. But why responsible? What's responsible mean? Who's ever been given a choice? When they mix up all the little molecules we're made out of, do they ask each one politely which he will be? Rich man, poor man, beggar man, thief. God, no. It's all accidental. And yet the judge says, Jim, you're guilty. He tosses the dictionary to the floor. This book's no good anymore. We need a new one with a brand new set of definitions. Eva. Don't say any more. I won't let you. She kisses him. Jim. How did this happen between you and me? Eva. I don't know. Jim. It's the dirtiest trick they've played on us yet. Eva, don't say that. Jim. We can't have each other. We never can, Eva. Eva, we can. Jim. Where? Eva, somewhere. Jim, how? Eva. I don't know how. Jim, neither do I. Eva. But next month, Jim, there won't be any next month. Eva. There will. Oh, there must be. Jim. Why? Why? Eva. Because I love you so much that it's got to happen the way I want it to happen. Jim. Why do you love me? Eva. Why is anything on earth? I don't know why. Jim. Neither do I. They cling together in tortured ecstasy. Blackout. The lights come up as the phone rings. Jim. Yes? I'll tell him. He hangs up. What is it? Jim. Schultz. They won't eat. Eva. What's he gonna do? Jim. He's already got his instructions from Whalen. They'll be in Klondike at 7. Eva, pausing. I won't be down here tomorrow. Jim. No? Eva. I'll be in the newspaper offices and at City Hall. Any place where people will listen. Jim. You think they'll listen anywhere, Eva? Eva. I'll make them listen. Jim. And afterwards, what will you do? With no job. Eva. I'll only have to wait 3 weeks, and then it'll be your responsibility, Jim. Jim. I hope to God you're right. Eva. I am. I know I am. Whalen enters. Warden. Hello. Still here, Jim? Jim. Yes, sir. Schultz called. They wouldn't eat supper. Warden. Well, he's got his instructions. Jim. Yes, he said that he had. Warden, scribbling on a piece of paper. Take this down to the switchboard and have it posted there and sent to all stations. Jim, does this mean... Warden, never mind what it means. Just take it down there and step lively. Jim, yes, sir. Jim goes out. Warden to Eva. Back on the job, huh? Eva. Yes. Warden, belching and removing his coat. I should have told you to bring some things with you. Eva. What things? Warden. Your little silk nightie and stuff. Eva. What do you mean? Warden. Quarantine. A bad epidemic's broken out. 25 cases are going to be running a pretty high fever tonight, so I put this place under quarantine restrictions. Nobody's going to leave the grounds till the epidemic is over. Eva. I can't stay here. Warden, busy with papers. Sure you can. My wife will fix a room for you. You'll be very comfortable here. Eva. No, I won't do it. Warden. You've got no choice in the matter. Eva. Haven't I? Warden. No, I'm not running a risk on any outside interference while this trouble is going on. It's my business. I'm going to keep it my business. So just as a routine precaution, I've ordered the boats to take no passengers on or off the island without my special permission. Eva. I think you're exceeding your authority. Warden. No, you're wrong there. Times of emergency, I can do what I damn please. Say, what are you worried about? Eva, frightened. Warden, I know. It's a nervous strain we've all been under these last few days. I got gas on the stomach myself. Here. He pours a shot of whiskey. Eva. No, you've been drinking too much. I'm afraid it's affected your sense of judgment. You ought to know you can't get away with a thing like this. Warden. Hey now, look here. Eva, excitedly. I'm not a prisoner. I'm free to go and do as I please. You can't stop me. Warden, look here now. She grasps the phone. Eva. Riverside 3854W. Riverside 38. She realizes the phone is cut off. Warden. No outgoing calls can get through. You're wasting your time. Eva. Then I am a prisoner here. Warden. You're temporarily detained on the island. Might as well make the best of it. He pours another drink. Eva. Oh. Warden. Here now, what's wrong with you? Eva. I don't know why, but I'm terribly frightened. Warden, soothingly. You've gone and worked yourself up. There's nothing for you to be nervous about. Eva. You. I'm afraid of you. She backs away from him. Warden, me? Why should you be scared of me? Eva. I am, though. I'm scared to death of you. You've got to let me go. I can't stay with you any longer, Mr. Whalen. Warden. Now. Eva. No, don't touch me. Please don't. Warden. You're hysterical, Eva. Eva. Yes. Warden, purring. My wife gets spells like that too, that don't touch me stuff. Eva, retreating. Yes. Warden. I know a good treatment for it that always works. There. Now, little girl, you just take it easy. Relax. You're all worked up over nothing. You're stiff, see? Your nerves and your muscles are all drawn up real tight. Eva. Yes. She has nearly collapsed with nervous exhaustion. His purring voice has a hypnotic effect. Warden. Now, when my wife gets like this, I rub my fingers along her throat, real gently, till all the stiffness goes out. Eva, her eyes shut. Yes. Warden gazes at her lasciviously. And then Eva sighs as though asleep. Warden. Eva? Eva? He rises and opens the inner door, then hesitates. The phone rings. For Christ's sakes, what is it now? Yeah? What? I'm coming right down there now. He hangs up, purring drunkenly. You wait, little girl. I'll be right back in here. Yes, sirree. He fumbles into his coat and goes out. Eva gasps as the door slams shut. She slowly rises. The outer door opens. Eva screams. Jim enters. Eva. Jim! Jim! Jim catches her in his arms. Get me out of here, please, please get me out of here. She sobs wildly. Jim, hold on to yourself. He shakes her. Hold on to yourself. Eva, I'm trying to, Jim. Jim, take a deep breath. Here, at the window. Eva, yes. Jim, see those lights over there? Eva, yes. Jim, that's the Lorelei on her way out. Be real quiet and you can hear the music. She leans against him. Faint music is heard. Better now? Eva. Yes. Thanks, Jim. Jim, what happened? Just tell me real quietly and don't get excited about it. Eva. He told me I'm a prisoner here. I can't leave. I don't know why, but it made me terribly frightened all of a sudden. His eyes, the way he looked at me, Jim. I had a feeling that something awful was going to happen. Jim, easy now. Eva. Yes. I guess I'm an awful sissy. Jim. No, you've got more guts than me. Eva. He came real close to me and his voice sort of put me to sleep. Jim. Did he? Eva. No. He only opened that door and then a bell rang. I could hear it like it was 1,000 miles off. Jim. A bell? Eva. They called him upstairs, I guess. He left the room and I would have jumped out the window if you hadn't come just then. Jim, there's nothing but water out there. Eva, I didn't care. I just wanted to get away somehow. Jim, you'll get away. Eva, with you, Jim? You'll take me? Jim, yes, in a while. Don't you feel the walls shaking? They can't hold up much longer. There's too much boiling inside them. Hate, torture, madness, fury. They'll blow wide open in a little while and we'll be loose. Eva, I want to be with you when that happens. I want you to hold me like this, so that when the walls start falling, I won't be crushed down under them, Jim. Jim, we'll be together. Eva, where? Jim, meet me tonight in the southwest corner of the yard. Eva, will we be safe there? Jim, in a whisper. It's dark. Nobody could see us. Blackout. End of Act 2.